Greg. Shut up, Greg. Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Beer Analysis 101 tonight. Yay. We're here with a lovely panel tonight, and we're going to take a look at something from BrewDog. BrewDog's very first beer, their Punk IPA, Postmodern Classic. That's debatable. Anyway, speaking of debating, let's get down to the panel that we have with us tonight. And we'll go the same route we've been going lately. We'll start off with Ashley Sexton. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good.
How are you? How are you doing, Nick? I'm more interested.
How am I doing? Oh, what? Nobody's interested in me. What are you kidding? Anyway, moving right along to someone who's definitely not interested in me. Then, Greg, how are you doing tonight?
That's not true, Nick. I'm incredibly interested in you and everything that you do. Every weird, disgusting, psychologically disturbed thing that you do. I want to know about it.
Moving right along, Craig from Camp Beer Reviews. How are you doing tonight?
All good. Been interesting to see what everyone thinks of this one, and thanks for having us again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming. Glad you could get the beer. Although I assume that this is something a little easier for you to find than most things that we do on here.
Oh yeah, it's just it's everywhere.
Yeah. And Redbeard, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing just fine. What be going on, people of the panel? Thanks for having me. Good times.
No problem at all, as usual. Thanks for actually getting the right beer this week.
You made that fucking joke like 3 times in a row now.
I know, it's still funny.
It's still funny. That's why it works.
I love you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And last but certainly, definitely not somewhat least, it's Mr. Average Joe of the Beer Patrol. How you doing tonight?
It's definitely least. You have made that joke 3 times. I wish Peter was here so he could write better jokes for you.
Well, he hasn't come in. He could even get here tonight, but he just didn't come in.
I'm sorry, Peter. I love you.
Peter, I love you, but you're bringing me down. Anyway, I'm bringing everybody down now. Anyway, moving along, let's go over to the beer history for Punk IPA from the brewery called BrewDog. BrewDog was founded in April 2007 in Fraserburg. How do you pronounce that? Is it Bra or Berg?
Bra.
Anyway, Fraserburg, Scotland, by James Watt and Martin Dickey. Both in their early 20s at the time. James Watt had worked as a deep sea fisherman, and Martin Dickey worked as a whiskey distillery. Inspired by U.S. craft beers such as Sierra Nevada, and with high alcohol content or large amounts of hops, they were confident such a brewery would be a success in the UK. They quit their day jobs, secured bank loans, and started brewing professionally. BrewDog focused their marketing on adopting the punk ethos, with counterculture, anarchist, revolutionary, any authority attitude as their way of thinking. This was shown in their very first beer produced, Punk IPA. In the early days, with 2 employees and 1 dog, hence the BrewDog, they brewed beers in small batches, filled bottles by hand, and sold them at the local markets from the back of their beat-up van. However, things weren't running smoothly, and BrewDog was losing money. Fortunes changed when they decided to enter the bottled beer competition in 2008, hosted by supermarket chain Tesco, where they won 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Wow. Suddenly, orders of 2,000 cases a week came in for their beer, a volume they were unable to match. They went to secure another bank loan of £150,000 to install a bottling line, but having issues making payments with prior loans, they were aptly denied. Not to be shut down, however, they went to another lender. They lied about being denied by their previous bank and told them they had been offered an amazing deal, but if they could match it, they would switch to their bank. BrewDog then secured that loan. It was a lie, and was able to get the bottling line running up in time to supply Tesco with bottles of Punk IPA. In 2008, BrewDog released their Tokyo Imperial Stout, which was first brewed at 12% and marketed with the tagline, "Our beer's so strong, it's a binge drink cure." Controversy around Tokyo drew the ire of UK beverage industry watchdog Portman Group, criticizing the availability of a beer that strong in normal 30 milliliter crown cap bottles and sold on store shelves. As a result, Portman banned Tokyo in the UK, and under the pressure caused many retailers to stop carrying Tokyo and other BrewDog beers. BrewDog had no issues staying afloat, however, as they began exporting to Sweden, US, and Japan. For a time, Punk IPA would become the best-selling IPA in Scandinavia. BrewDog followed a year later by releasing a stronger version of Tokyo called Tokyo with an asterisk as an 18.2% ABV version, which I actually reviewed as review 800 on my channel. In later bottlings, it was 16.5% ABV. The 18.2% beer touched off a media firestorm in the UK over worries that such a strong beer promoted binge drinking. In response to this criticism, BrewDog brewed a 0.5% ABV protest beer called Nanny State. Eventually, BrewDog would win the fight with the Portman Group and was allowed to continue selling their beers with no label or name changes other than nixing the beer name Speedball, which they admitted they had named after the narcotic. Fueled by the publicity, though, from the controversy, in 2009, BrewDog launched another controversial beer called Tactical Nuclear Penguin, a super strong version of their Paradox Imperial Stout, made by chilling the beer to minus 20 degrees Celsius in an ice cream factory and skimming the ice crystals off the top, concentrating the alcohol in the beer further. Final beer came to 32% ABV, and at the time was claimed to be the world's strongest beer. Within a year, however, German brewery Schwarzbrau topped BrewDog with a 40% ABV version of their Schwarzbach. Not to be outdone, BrewDog countered with Sink the Bismarck, a 41% ABV beer, reclaiming the strongest beer title from the Germans. They followed this brew up with the 2010 and later in 2010 with the 55% ABV, The End of History, which only 12 bottles were ever made and stuffed inside a taxidermic small animals such as squirrels and cost between 500 to 700 pounds apiece. Two stronger beers have since been produced, Schwarzbach 57 at 57.5% ABV and Brewmeister Snake Venom at 67.5. However, these beers never been confirmed by independent testing, and The End of History is still recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's strongest beer. In the 11 years that BrewDog has been open, they have expanded their brewing operations and opened a number of BrewDog pubs around the world. In 2010, BrewDog opened their first bar in Aberdeen, followed by their second bar in Edinburgh in 2011. In 2012, largely funded by crowdsourcing campaign, BrewDog opened their larger brewery and relocated their headquarters from Framingham to nearby Ellen. The BrewDog has since expanded their brewhouse to 300 hectoliters in 2016 and number of pubs to 46 as of 2017. James Watt and Martin Dickey also starred in their own television show called BrewDogs, which aired on Esquire Network for 3 seasons from 2013 to 2015. In this series, the brewers traveled the world discovering beers and participating in beer challenges. It presently can be watched on Amazon Prime Video. BrewDog faced criticism in March 2017, though, when they started legal action against a Birmingham pub called the Lone Wolf, a trademark that BrewDog owned. The next day, more controversy arose over alleged previous legal threat against a bar called Draft Punk. These led to accusations of hypocrisy of its punk ethos. However, James Watt later defended the allegations as inaccurate. That BrewDog had no issues with the bar names, but BrewDog did own the punk trademark for beer. Anyway, in February 2017, BrewDog opened their U.S. brewery and tap room in Columbus, Ohio, called the Dog Tap. A year later, in June 2018, just a couple months ago, also fueled by crowdfunding, BrewDog officially opened the world's first craft beer hotel adjacent to the Columbus brewery called the Doghouse. In the Doghouse, guests can drink a complimentary beer while they check in. Each of the 32 rooms has its own draft tap, hop-infused toiletries, and even a fridge stocked with beer in the shower. Each of these rooms also has a window installed where guests can watch the brewers at work. Presently, BrewDog has plans to open up another doghouse at their headquarters in Ellen, Scotland, as well as another brewery in Brisbane, Australia in 2019. So they got some pretty heavy, weird expansion plans. Anyway, getting back down to it, Punk IPA is an American-style IPA coming in at 5.6% ABV and 35 IBUs. That's kind of low for an IPA. Brewed with extra pale malts and Chinook, Athanum, Amarillo, Cascade, Simcoe, and Nelson Sauvin hops. I'm surprised they actually got Nelson Sauvin in this. All right. That was a mouthful.
A little bit.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's get somebody to read the comments. Joe, you wanna do that for us? Do the comment master.
No, I don't. I'm pretty sure Ashley was the one that we nominated.
Well,
Eric-
we can
Eric-
get
Eric
Ashley's
Gilbert
your
said
your
cheers.
Hey, don't steal the thunder.
I did. It's too late. Fuck you.
Shut up, Redbeard.
So, from the comment section is Eric Gilbert. Thank you for watching, Eric. And he goes, cheers.
That's all we have is one fucking comment. I would have read that. Damn it!
That was fantastic, Ashley. Good work.
Great job, Ashley. Great job. Cheers to Eric as well. He always watches.
Reading the hell out of those comments, even though Redbeard blurted it out beforehand.
You know it, baby.
Gingers have no voice and no soul.
Right.
And no
You
manners.
beat those comments like they were Redbeard.
Right. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Since we don't have any comments, except for Eric Gilbert said there is one comment. Technically, that's two.
If he
Oh,
says
God, they're
something again, that's
multiplying.
3. Yeah, watch out.
And we got 9 people watching. So, yeah, hey, people out there, if you're watching, leave a comment and if you have any questions.
No, it's not
Anyway,
worth
let's go over to personal history. Yeah, I know. Let's go over to Ashley Sexton and see what's your history with this beer.
Well, I don't have a lot of history with this beer or this brewery in general. I know I've had one beer from them in the past. That was Elvis Juice. But I do remember when I was getting started in homebrewing, going through magazines, editorials, stuff like that. I know that BrewDog always popped up, and it always seemed like one of those breweries that was sort of on the leading edge, something that I probably wouldn't have a lot of great access to. So it was always one of those breweries that I always sought after to try to find their beers. And then, I think it was one day, like a few years ago, I came across the Elvis Juice and had that, and I enjoyed it. And for whatever reason, I thought I've had Punk IPA, but because I'm pretty good at tapping all my stuff. But that one, I guess I haven't had this, so this is the first time for me. So there we go.
Wow, really? Well, there you go. First time for everything. And speaking of someone who's all about the first time, Greg, what's your history?
Well, luckily, this is not my first time. I've been around this block once before on February 18th, 2016.
Ooh.
And that's the only other time I've had this. And I've also looked, and I have not had anything by this brewery either. But, so yeah, the adventures await.
Wow. All right. Craig, what's your history with BrewDog and the beer? I imagine you have one.
Yeah, I've had this quite a lot of times. I mean, in the first sort of year or two when it got brewed, just had a little check on Untapped. I've had 40 different beers from BrewDog.
Holy crap.
Over the years, since 2014, so you just slowly pick them up, I guess. But yeah, really widely available, of course. Mainly in like these kind of, you get them in the 330ml bottles. I've got a 660ml bottle here. You can get them in 4 packs of cans. Yeah, really easily available. But yeah, I've had it quite a lot of times.
Cool. I understand you probably you could get it back in the supermarket in Tesco when it was first put out, right?
Yeah. I mean, I used to work for Tesco. I worked for 17 years for Tesco's anyway.
Oh,
so
wow.
When it first came out, I was around. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, moving along to Redbeard. What's your history, Punk?
I had this for daily drink number 89. So it was a while ago when I first had it, and I liked it back then because it was old, basically. That was before my palate had changed. I couldn't take any of the hop bitters and stuff like that. This shows up here every now and then. It's always at least like 4 or 5 months old. So back then I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good IPA. But now I'm not so much a fan of the malt bomb kind of thing that happens with stuff like this. But yeah, I had a few of them back then because I did enjoy it. It was kind of before I knew that IPAs would have the hops fading away super fast and stuff like that. But yeah, not really something that I'd buy so much now.
Right. Joe, what's your history with this?
don't freaking know at all. All I know is that we used to get BrewDog imported back when a couple years after I got into craft beer, probably 2010, 11. And they were always really expensive because they'd show up in the 12-ounce bottles and they'd be like $4.99, $5.99 a bottle. And they'd always be super old. So I never really picked up a lot of BrewDog stuff other than like the barrel or the bigger beers. So I've actually had this a few times before, back when it used to be imported. And it'd always be like 3 months old. So I could never tell you what it's like fresh. And it was always just okay. I mean, it's always been okay. Nothing spectacular. I feel like when this was first brewed 10 years ago, I'm sure it was not groundbreaking, but certainly upper echelon in terms of what you could get. But aside from that, like it's all right. I've had it a few times. It's all right.
Probably one of those cases if the bar keeps getting raised.
Yeah, and again, they're obviously in the States, in Columbus now and whatnot, and we get fresher cans. But even with that said, the can that I have, and again, they just started distributing this beer, all the beers from BrewDog Columbus about 4 or 5 months ago. This can is like almost 3 months old. That's the freshest I could find locally.
Crap.
So some things never change, even though the brewery's like 6 hours away from me. So whatever.
Fun.
Stone of the UK. Good job.
Yeah, and that's also showing one big thing is like you've actually got a can from the U.S. My can here is actually from Scotland.
I think mine is too. Mine's definitely from over
Is
there
it the
somewhere.
same label? Do you guys have is it the exact same everything?
See, they got a small can. I've never seen a small can here.
Yeah, mine's a 355, 12 ounce. So
I'm kind of jealous of you.
Mine's like a size is this 500 milliliter.
I love how the end of their description on the can is "Taste the hops, live the dream." It's more like taste the dream because you're dreaming of hops that aren't there.
Or taste the malt.
Taste the
beer.
resin.
Taste the malt, dream of hops.
I will.
Taste the resin. More like
Price point though.
Taste the punk.
What's price point? I'd imagine Greg's probably the cheapest of everyone. But what did you guys pay for it in the LCBO, and what did you?
Give me a second. I'm not 100% sure.
I think this was $2 for the 12-ounce can American. So not. I mean, way better than the $5, $6 I used to have to pay for their beers.
It's not bad. I don't know if this would be the first one I'd pick, but I trust me. I ain't going to get into my history here, but I'm actually stuck answering Joe's question. $3.99. That's how much it cost me for this.
$2.95 in Ontario.
Yeah, I just found out at the same time as
shit.
There you go. And I think my question. I think the answer to my question is more impressive than whatever your history is. So
for $2.95 in Ontario, that is actually a pretty decent price for an IPA. But at the same time, I'd spend an extra 20, 30 cents and buy something Ontario craft that's actually fresh.
All right, your history, Dick, go.
Anyway, go my personal history. Not that anybody actually wants to hear, apparently.
No, you talked enough.
Shut up, Red Beard. I'll mute you. Anyway, moving right along. Yeah, my personal history with this is that first time I ever had a beer from BrewDog, I had the hardcore IPA, their double IPA back late 2011. And yeah, in true BrewDog style, that one was expired. So I posted the review anyway. It was like around the same time I started doing reviews with Heist Almighty. So it was a long time ago. I've had other BrewDog beers since then. I've had Alice Porter. I had the Tokyo 18.2. I had the BrewDog McKellar I Hardcore U collaboration way back in 2012. I've had a few that I haven't reviewed on my channel, I've had Jack's Hammer, Coco Psycho, and at least one other. And the first time I ever had a Punk IPA was back in 2015, June 2015, according to my Untapped. And I wasn't really crazy about it then. But hopefully... I'll get into my thoughts on this one soon, but this one's a lot fresher than it was. And this one's actually from July 31st, so this is less than a month old. Amazing. All right. Anybody want to get Ashley? You want to get to the comments?
I was going to say, wow, that's a impressive date on that can.
Yeah.
So rating on your parade. Well, Eric Gilbert, was in agreement with something. I don't know what, but he's obviously a smart man if he's agreeing with us. Rating on Your Parade chimes in, no BrewDog in Portland, Maine. We had them a couple of years ago, and I never picked any up. It was very expensive. And then Eric Gilbert is responding to, I think, Joe's age of his can, and he was saying it's still younger than any LCBO can, which I will agree with. And
how old are the cans that you got in Ontario anyway? I didn't catch that.
Mine has a best before of April 5th, 2019.
Or is it?
Mine
it
also
in Europe?
has that.
But I was gonna say in Europe, isn't it? They do the opposite, so wouldn't it be May the 4th, 2019?
Yeah,
I wasn't sure about that.
Sure.
It should go day month for you
Day
guys
month.
because it's
Okay,
important.
yeah.
The weird
So
thing
make-
is, like, I don't know if you can see that on the bottom of my can, but it actually says
Platinum
NP 20 platinum selling. What the fuck?
Mine says Punk on Tour.
Wow, yeah, that's incredibly fresh for you, Nick. That's insane, bro. It's less than a month. I would have never thought you'd have like the freshest can here. Well, are you drinking the old one, Craig? Are you drinking the 75?
Yeah,
Well, I've got May the 4th, so May the 4th be
mine's
with
the,
you.
the 6th of July of 2016.
Why can't the date just be the same format
I
every?
love it.
Also, I do just want to clarify, Redbeard, when you said that about your LCBOs must kind of suck. I think he was referring to the actual any can of BrewDog and not any.
No,
can
fair
in general.
enough. That makes sense. I got him.
Yeah.
I get it.
Craig, I can't wait to hear your review on this from that old bottle.
I'm surprised if he drinks it all.
All right, so we still reading comments?
No, that was it.
4 to 6 months. I don't know. Do we want to rush things and actually go into what our ratings are?
Yes, we should rush it as quick as possible.
Shorter videos do tend to get watched all the way through more often than longer ones.
Well, no one's watching this.
Good for your analytics and shit. Yeah.
Right, shut up then, Redbeard.
Exactly, Redbeard.
Fucking hate you all.
First you say you love us all.
All right, so I'll jump in since I know
I hate that I love you.
So my can exploded. I have no idea why. It was in the fridge. I bought it a week and a half ago. It's been in the fridge ever since. I literally took it out about 15 minutes before I got on here. So
How'd you not get that on camera? That would have been great.
you know what? You may see me react. I don't know. So all of the hop aroma is completely faded. What I'm left with is just, typical caramel malts. Nothing special on the nose. The sip, I am picking up the Amarillo hops. Getting a little bit of an orange flavor to it. Getting that grapey pithiness from the Cascade.
Orange candies.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Mixing with the caramel malt there, it's probably picking up a little bit of that residual sweetness to it. It's definitely faded a little bit. It's a little thin though. Not to steal a book from Mr. PA Brew News, but it actually tastes a little thin for being a 5.6. You expect a little bit more of a body from it, but it tastes like it's watered down. Almost makes you wonder if they actually add water just to increase capacity or production. It's nothing special. It's not the worst IPA I've ever had. I've had far worse from local places. Would it have been better fresh? Probably. I would love to get, because IPAs, it's a, you're getting the aroma, you're getting the bitter, you're getting, the tropical flavors, the fruit flavors, and then you're getting a nice mouthfeel. So I think this is sort of missing the mark on two of those, two out of the three. I think the flavor's okay. But yeah, not a decent aroma and not a great body. So, personal enjoyment, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. And I think that's going to echo my first style rating, for a 4-month-old can, which, it's not terribly old. It's not bad, but I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10 as well for style. So 6 and 6 for an exploding can. I have no idea why it exploded. It doesn't taste off. So
Good timing on the comeback, Greg. Wow.
I do feel though, Eric in the comments mentioned that the LCO probably aged it, in the, did you pick it up in the refrigerated section or just on the shelf?
Oh, this is on the shelf. But
Wow.
you would have think like something like this, and as big as BrewDog is, they would have put this through a nice filtration system, right? There really shouldn't be any extra yeast in here that would have gone through secondary fermentation.
Wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. So it sort of got me thinking, 'cause I'm not tasting any off flavors from like nothing rotten or anything like that. I'm just sort of wondering why it blew up on me.
Well, I do know one
You said
then.
you didn't have it super cold, eh? Like it didn't.
Yeah.
Not like
I mean,
super cold. Like
it was only in the fridge for like 10 minutes, man.
It may have been.
Yeah, so it's fine. That's weird.
It
Sorry,
may
Joe.
have been overcarbonated to begin with.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? So, I mean, but anyway.
All right. Did we ask Greg what he said? I haven't heard anything from Greg yet.
Well, first of all, I certainly cannot give this a point, or I cannot deduct points for exploding, because if I deducted points for everything that exploded in my hand, never mind. Anyway, actually,
Greg,
I'll give it a point for that. I am on topic. It's good. I like it. I don't have a whole lot to say on it. It is a little malty. I taste hops. I don't know. I don't think it's as much of a malt bomb as other people seem to think it is. I actually quite like it. For style, what is it? It's an American IPA. Oh, it's not the best I've had. It's not the worst I've had. I'd give it a style. I'd give it a 7.5. I'd actually give it an 8 for my personal enjoyment. I quite like it. Actually, let's give it an 8.5. I give it a 0.5 for exploding on Ashley. 8.5 personal enjoyment.
So what was your style? 8?
7.5.
7.5.
7.5 and then 8.5. Okay. So just gotta do the math here. All right, Craig, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I must admit, going back it's quite a while back. I mean, it's probably a lot of. I think the beer in general was caught up with this beer. I used to really enjoy it when I first tried it. It was like, wow, what's this? This is like, everything was kind of new then. It's like, who are these brash Scottish guys, coming on and giving it all that nonsense, it's like, what are they on about? And then you try it back then, it's like, oh, wow, this is really, okay, I get what you're saying now. Anyone who's been drinking kind of craft beer in the last sort of 10 years or so since they've been going can see through all that bullshit now, I think. It's not all this what they're putting on Untapped and this and F that, and it's like, it's just not that anymore. Not what I'm getting out of the fresh bottle, and obviously my little experiment, but 2-year out of date bottle as well, which is pretty rank. Yeah, rank. Now that's a malt bomb.
Wonder why.
I mean, this one is probably about 3 weeks old, this bottle, but they've given it like a year's shelf life, which is like, wow, for a start for an IPA, that's pretty impressive. That's why I wanted to do that kind of experiment with that other bottle, really, but forgot about it for a couple of years. So there you go. But back to this one, then the fresh one. It's all right. It's more of a gateway IPA, I'd say now for these days. It's just very lacking in flavour for me personally compared to what you can get. And there's even better IPAs in the supermarket, I think, than this in the UK. It's not think, oh, I'm going to go and grab a 4-can pack of these or whatever. It's just, it has to be pretty, for my taste at least, it has to be really sparse on the shelves for if I go and pick one of these up. But when I try it, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's kind of one of them bang in the middle kind of beers for me. Last year they brought out what they claimed to be the IPA Classic, because they changed the recipe. I don't know when exactly they changed it, but originally it was a lot hazier than this. But now I don't know if there's. Yeah, I mean,
I kind of wondered about that changing the recipe a little, because Nelson's so bad. I don't think that was even around 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know what they changed exactly, but it's a lot clearer now. I think they're trying to get a lot of the lager drinkers onto it, so it's got to have that kind of clarity thing going on with it. It can't be, I think that's what it is. They've gone mainstream. They're in pretty much all of the supermarket chains here in the UK now. but yeah, me and Jake tried it when we was up in Leeds last March, I think it was. We done a kind of a drunken review of the so-called IPA classic, and yeah, we kind of ripped it apart, to be honest with you. But then we had a few beers anyway. But anyway, that's another story. No, this is okay, but it's just nothing. I'm sorry, I'm going on here. I'm doing a Joe. Sorry, mate. Yeah, so I'll just go on to my scores and I'll clear off. Yeah, so overall in enjoyment, I'm going to give this 6 out of 10.
Okay.
But a style, 6.5.
6.5 and a 6.
Yep. And that's it.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, you would know best. I mean, you probably have more than anybody else in this panel. I know I've had it a few times, but anyway, moving right along to Redbeard. What's your thoughts, man?
Like I said, I used to, before my palate shift happened and I couldn't take hops and stuff, I used to think that was pretty good. Now, though, that I've had the palate shift happen and now I really enjoy the hoppy, juicy flavors of a nice, fresh, well-made IPA, this just is basically dog shit, in my most opinion. It's not gross, like it's not bad, it's not offensive. It just does not taste anything like I would expect a good IPA to taste like. So I'd have to say overall enjoyment and style, I'm going to go 5s across the board. And randomly also, the whole recipe thing you were talking about, Sawdust City out of Gravenhurst here, their main IPA is their Lone Pine IPA. And last year, I think it was, they called it Lone Prime, which was a special release of the original recipe for that beer. And just like this one I actually enjoyed their original recipe a bit more than the kind of one, the mainstream one they have now. So changing stuff is not necessarily. Remember New Coke? Remember how well that went over?
God.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can see Joe rolling his eyes here because he said, like, I can't believe Redbeard actually brought New Coke into this whole comparison.
That's how I roll, yo.
No, that's not the case. I'm trying in my mind to wrap around the fact that Redbeard knows what dog shit tastes like, so that's impressive.
That?
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic.
We're all kids at one point, man. Fuck.
Well, you were a special kid, apparently. Also, Craig, I thought we were buddies. What the hell? What the hell, man?
That was the best thing that ever happened right there.
That was pretty fantastic and quite accurate. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about this. I was talking offline before we hopped on about how BrewDog reminds me of like Stone, basically, of the UK, where 5 to 10 years ago, where they were brewing innovative stuff that was good at the time, regardless of whether or not they actually changed the recipe and how much they changed it. This beer does not really hold up that well. I will say this with one caveat being that I don't think any of us outside of Nick have had it super fresh. So I can't speak on having this beer 2, 3, 4 weeks old. We'll see in a second what Nick says. But, I've always had this like 3 months old, and it's one of those beers that reminds me of like 2010. A lot of caramel malt. Well, not technically caramel malt. A lot of caramel from the malt, and like pithy, as Ashley was saying, like pithy citrus notes like orange and grapefruit and whatnot, even tangerine. But it's just an easygoing beer. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Like none of us are hating this. This isn't Corona. It's just okay. I'm gonna drink the can of it. Nothing's wrong with it. But this is an older recipe, and I think it's kind of unfair to compare this to all the juice bombs we drink nowadays, or even non-juice bombs, just fresh American IPAs nowadays. It's a recipe that clearly hasn't held up all that well. So that's unfortunate. But it's cool that we did a little bit of a analysis on this one. It is the one thing about these analyses is we all have different cans and we all have different ages. So to see the differences between what each person is saying is cool. It'd be nice if we just had a beer where everyone had it and it was like a month old. We could all be on the same wavelength. Probably never going to happen because of Nick. But anyway, as far as ratings and whatnot go, well, this time, Nick, it's because yours is actually fresher than the rest of us, which is amazing. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, sure.
But like personal opinion and style, like if it's on the can that I'm drinking right now, 6.5 for both. I mean, I can drink it. It gets a passing grade. There's nothing wrong with it. But, I mean, I'll probably honestly never buy this again in canned form unless I see it super fresh, because even at $2 a can, it's not worth my time nor my money with thousands of other beers out nowadays. And also, I feel like I should just dock them like a quarter point or maybe a half point just for their stupid write-ups like Stone. I hate it. I fucking hate. You know what I am? 6 for both.
Yeah,
Fuck these guys.
yeah.
I like some of BrewDog stuff,
For
but
fuck's sake, Joe.
I'm sorry, 6. 6.
I gotta agree. I would like to try this beer fresh. I would like to try it at least once in my life, actually, like within a month of brewing, and just see what it's supposed to taste like.
It's not much different.
We should stop apologizing
so
to
sad.
these breweries because we don't have it fresh. I mean,
Well, it's not. Yeah,
I'm not apologizing. I'm not
I'm
apologizing.
just saying I would like to experience once. That's it. Like, just once from BrewDog, a fresh product. Be nice.
Yeah, I said fuck sakes, you change your rating, and I was trying to do the math on the fly, but now I gotta throw the calculators all out.
If you are that incapable, then leave it at 6.5s. Then I'm sorry.
I'll do the math later. I'll just get into my discussion of what I think of this.
You've destroyed beer analysis.
Honestly, listening to you guys talk and drinking this, I don't think having this fresh, you're missing much. There's a bit more, maybe a bit more of the hop notes you get. It's more floral, maybe a bit more grapefruit, bit of tangerine, then blends into the orange candies and resin. I'm not really a big fan of the resin, and I also find this thing very thin. It's not, doesn't really have a very substantial body. At the same time, I'm getting that kind of session IPA, bit of soda water in the back as well. It's also quite clean for an IPA. It doesn't linger heavy in the palate. And but at the same time, I don't find it very impressive. It's not wowing me.
What do you keep looking at?
My notes over here on my notepad on my second monitor.
It just looked really, really, really weird.
Don't you know that someone writes his speeches for him?
Yeah, and to agree with basically, I think what Joe said, if not anybody else, it might have been above average a few years ago, but it's not now. I mean, back a few years ago, it might have been pretty great. Back when Pliny the Elder was the beer that everybody get the hard on for, but this is just it's okay, but I wouldn't call it that great. As such, I'm going to give it, for the style, middle of the road rating for both. Actually, I'm going to give it a 7s. I think it's getting a little bit of like a half extra mark for me for being fresh like this, but I got to say that when it comes to this IPA, it's okay. I tried it. If you want to, but it's not what I would consider my favorite.
Midway between 1 and 10 is not 7, but nice try, buddy.
Well, it's midway between fail, which is a 5, and 10, which is, oh my god, amazing.
5 is 50%. That's a passing grade, or it used to be. I think it's like 60 or something now. You have to get
right.
Redbeard, when you got a 50% in school, didn't your parents beat the shit out of you?
I never did get one, but
you have shit then. Yeah. That's what happens, you know.
Well, technically in school, they used to use the A to F, and F would be a 50, and you usually didn't go below that, so that's a kind of a different scale and all. So
wouldn't F be a 49?
Whatever, it doesn't really matter. 49, 50. Yeah, the point is, you very rarely got a 0. It was usually an A to F, and it was 50 to 100. So it's way.
Now there's like the S is like satisfactory, and there's like A for average. There's like the report cards these days are ridiculous.
Which is why when you see a lot of beer tubers, they talk about like if they do a 100-point scale and they give it a 50 and they fail it, people are like, that's a 5 out of 10. That no, it's not a 5 out of 10. That's basically a 0. Just that's how they're rating it on the grading system. So,
well, yeah, like the way I work it is like if I say 1, it made me throw. I've never rated actually singularity. The first time I ever had it would be the only thing I ever rated a 1. But yeah, it's like because it starts there. That's kind of my rating is based on how absolutely unpalatable and disgusting I find it to be.
Nick, can I add something, Nick? There's something that goes on with for me that I've found out over the years is that a lot of their beers, you can tell it's kind of a BrewDog beer, especially their paler beers. And I think recently as well, because they're bringing out all these kind of fanzine boxes over here in the UK, where you get like 3 cans per every 2 weeks for like £11. I've had one of those boxes and there's a few pales in them or IPAs, and they all taste exactly the same for me. There's not much in it. I don't know what's. I think that also they're trying to get into people that are just getting new into craft beer as well. But yeah, a lot of their pale beers have got this kind of taste that runs right through all of them.
Do they?
A few. Sorry,
Craig, I was going to say,
Samey taste.
Do they have a proprietary yeast strain or some kind of proprietary malt that they use?
It's possibly the yeast. I'm not sure. There's a few breweries that we get over in the UK that you can just tell it's that specific brewery beers, probably because of the yeast strain or whatever it is.
I feel Rogue is very similar in the US because they have the Pac-Man yeast, and so many of their beers have just a similar yeast strain character that you get.
Yeah, but no, it's just something I've thought I'd.
Look at that! You're adding to this show. That's what we need, Greg. We need people that aren't Redbeard. That's what we need here.
Yep. I'm gonna fucking stab you.
I'm gonna go to the comments.
I'm not Redbeard, to be fair.
So Eric Gilbert, probably after my opening debacle, said BrewDog is usually on the shelf under the lights because nobody drinks it. Raining on Your Parade said, looks like I didn't miss out not picking this one up. You're probably right. Redbeard agreed with him. And then Eric Gilbert, I didn't pick this IPA for the show once again. Did pick up a Little Beasts Ria APA, a bit fresher. Little Beasts, they are a fine brewery. You made a good choice.
I like that Eric very rarely picks up the beer that we do and is always drinking something different that usually is a bit tastier. So he is a smart man.
Little better.
Corona, Punk IPA.
That's not really the point of this show. The point is to drink the filthy shit we're drinking with us.
Yeah, not everyone wants to do that, unfortunately.
Join in our suffering.
Yeah, even some people on the panel here don't always want to join.
Don't always get the right beer sometimes. But, yeah.
I just want to say one thing about this beer in relation to a lot of beers that are older. We all have, for those of us who've had it before, like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, right? Everyone would say that's a classic, right? But I guarantee if you go pick up a bottle of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale right now that's 2 or 3 months old, you're not going to be doing fucking cartwheels in your house and fucking yelling from the rooftops because it's probably just an okay beer. What happens is beers that have 10, 20, 30-year-old recipes that if you brew a beer in 1980, what kind of hops and malts do they have in comparison to nowadays? And it's not fair comparison. So you always have to look at these beers in context of when they were brewed and what they did at the time. And that's one thing with all these beers nowadays that we don't always properly do, because a lot of, like, I forgot who said it, Craig said it about new craft beer drinkers getting into a craft beer currently. They pick something up like this after having a crazy New England style, or just even a regular IPA that has Mosaic and Citra and stuff.
Yeah,
they pick something up like this, they're going to be like, this is shit because it doesn't taste like what I'm used to. But I don't think you can always look at these beers with that kind of train of thought.
They've got to be doing something, right? Because like Nick talking about the beginning, like they've expanded. They've got all these the first craft beer. Like with having a draft tap in your room. How the hell are they, like, is there like a kegerator in there? Is the tap on the wall? Is it like one keg in the basement running to 50 different taps? Like there's some questions I have.
They probably have like a keg in every room or something.
But they've got to be, again, they've got to be doing
anyway.
something. Right? I would like to try something fresh and even different from them and just see if like this, if this is the standard of what they make, then something's wrong. They shouldn't be doing so well. But if they're making other good shit, or if it's fresh is good.
The dark beers are miles better.
Oh, yeah, they are. I agree. But you also have to realize, Redbeard, a very simple phrase, people are creatures of habit. And when you look at somebody who maybe started drinking this beer, say 5 to 10 years ago, and they like the beer a lot of people won't move from what they drank, just like you have so many people that drink macro beer. They'll drink a Miller Lite but won't touch a Bud Light. Why? Because they've been drinking Miller Lite for 30 years and that's what they know, and they don't want to go try something. So a lot of these beers, from Sam Adams to the Sierra Nevada Pale Ales to beers like this, not saying they're not made with quality. What I'm saying is people are creatures of habit. They drink this, they buy it, and they don't go outside the box.
I feel like that mindset is actually starting to kind of, like, that's how it was growing up. Like we're talking earlier, possibly on macro for in the future, Carling Black Label. That's the only beer I can ever recall seeing in my house growing up. That was like my dad's beer of choice. And my grandpa drank like Bud, some Canadian Blue, whatever. But now that there's so much better just options that people kind of getting into craft, like anyone even turning 19 now. You start trying beers and try different things and this and that. And I can see in the future, less people having that, like, I'm going to only buy and drink one beer all the time. Right? I used to myself, I'll admit it. I used to drink basically either Carling or Bud. I'd just buy a 6-pack of those and that'd be my beer for the night kind of thing. But now I'll go to the LCBO and the most I'll probably buy is like 3 of the same beer. If I'm buying a 6-pack, it'd be like 3 of one beer and then 3 different beers. Cause I want to try different stuff and not have the same exact thing the whole night through kind of thing. So yep. I hope that becomes more prominent.
I'm sorry, Nick. I know you want to write this up, so.
Sorry, no, I'm enjoying listening to the conversation, even though Red Beard gave away next week's beer.
I didn't know it was going to be.
Nobody's actually asked to, and probably nobody even paying attention to what Red Beard just said. They're probably going to have to go review it. And on the 10th says, "I miss you guys," but you could have come here from your hotel room.
Somebody asked what next week's beer is.
Anyway, we haven't given the ratings yet. Let's get down to the ratings here.
You mean the final tally?
Yeah, something like that. Here's the ratings, the overall shit. Anybody want to do a drum roll? No. Okay. Oh shit, we actually got a drum roll. All right, and here's your final scores. That really didn't go over well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of bumped it up. If it wasn't for me, it would be like probably into the high 5s.
You basically on the 10th it. You on the 10th it.
What did you give it for scores? You gave it
on the opposite way.
Yeah, I gave it a 7, so I pumped it up a little bit. But this is
Greg was
right
definitely
here.
Up there. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely.
I've only gotten an 8 from me, except it screwed Ashley over, so I had to give it that extra 0.5.
I just dropped
an extra point. The personal enjoyment because it splashed all over just.
What happened to your notes there? Might have been above average years ago, but knock.
What is tangerine?
It's called a typo.
What's tangerine? Is that like a tangerine?
Tangerine? I spelled tangerine wrong. Give me a break.
Oh my god, you failed.
No, I'm getting that tangerine.
My short notes. I'm just typing. I don't care about typos.
Underlying notes of tangerine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to jump to the comments really quick.
Sure.
Eric Gilbert said the Ria, the little beast beer, it's like drinking tropical fruit and weed blender shake. Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
the 10th misses us, but he's on the better side of the country. Lee Russell is mocking us. Well, we mock you.
You might know the better side of the country. Fuck those Western assholes.
And
shit.
Hillbilly Wine 101 is chiming in right at the end, but hello, Hillbilly Wine. And Eric Gilbert is very hopeful that next week's beer is worth picking up. Well,
yeah.
Well, about that, usually we alternate a craft beer in if you call this craft beer anymore, with a macro. So it goes craft macro. This is craft. Next week's a macro, so I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Yeah, Eric, I haven't brought this out in a while, but I'm gonna need you to settle down.
Yeah, gonna do Carling Black Label.
There you are.
Yeah, and my condolences in advance.
The beer of my father.
I'm hoping I can't find it. I wonder if Pabst responded to my email yet.
I can't believe you actually messaged Pabst.
I did. I was like, "Hey, man, where's this Carling or Carling Black Log you got? Where is it, baby?"
I'm a great
They
friend.
don't even know about it. What's that, Greg?
So no, don't worry.
Yeah, well, it happens to be one of the macro beers that I picked up when I was in Quebec. I sent Lee a can, so maybe he'll be in. I don't know.
He sent it to him. He better show up.
I say you better
Come
show
on,
up.
Lee.
Come on, son. Actually, he's old enough. No, he's not old enough.
It's Chris says WTF Black Label. Fuck my life. But are you even going to be here for next week's show, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know. Are you going to be here next week? Or are we going to have to go Kozak list for another week?
Is he saying fuck my life because he's going to be there? Or because he's like, I'm going to miss it. I'm so sad.
Oh, Eric Gilbert says, I will drink that better than BrewDog.
Ooh,
fighting words, but probably accurate at this point.
I would drink a Cocoa Psycho before this thing. But
well, I think he meant Punk IPA.
I know. Punk IPA is junk IPA nowadays.
I'll I'll try and have one of these.
Wah, 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 wah.
This is nice
Right.
if you ever.
Oh yeah. If,
Oh,
I
which
hope
one's
they
that? The Clockwork Tangerine? I've never had that.
Yeah, orange. Yeah.
Elvis
tangerine.
juice. Elvis juice is good. Like I thought Elvis juice when we did it, Craig, you and Peter and I thought it was pretty good.
Not bad. That's probably their better of their pale beers. That's probably their best one.
I gotta admit, I mean, I've had other beers from from BrewDog before. Like I've had Jack's Hammer. That one was okay.
Jack Campbell's
Tokyo
better.
is something else.
Yeah, that's a good beer.
Yeah, Libertine Black Ale was okay. I gave that a meh.
Tokyo was something else, and he gives it a 4 out of 5. I guess it was really something
Coco
else.
Psycho, that was my favorite that I had back in 2015.
Oh, Paul actually bought Sink the Bismarck when he was over in March.
Oh wow!
I think it was about 55.
I didn't know you could still get that.
Yeah,
They still
55
make
quid
that,
for.
or-
Yeah, 55 pounds it was for a 330ml bottle.
That's
Easy.
like $80 or some shit.
Yeah, it's just like so. I had a little taster of that, and
Well, we
It's
actually
not
drank
good.
it there. Oh,
yeah,
It's
we
not
had
good
it.
anymore.
We had it at the.
it's got to be like Utopias or something.
Yeah,
Well,
we can.
It's not beer. It's not beer. It's, to me, it's not beer. It's a spirit.
This has been going on for 51 minutes long.
Yeah,
Probably
I think-
about.
I think we're
Yeah, sorry.
about ready to call it quits
No,
here.
it's
No,
not
that's
great.
fine.
Just time to shut it down because we've done all we can with Punk IPA. Literally,
Yeah, we've already punked it.
We punked it.
just end the frickin' show.
Oh,
Terrible.
all right. We're gonna do an after chat in a few minutes. We'll talk to you guys in a bit. Thank you for watching. Thanks all the panel here: Ash, Greg, Craig, Redbeard. We got Joe. Thanks for coming on to the panel tonight. Thank you all the viewers in there, like Rainy on your parade, Eric Gilbert, Chris. Hey, Joe's in there. Jamie's in the chat now. Joe, I'll ship you some Black Label for some Cigar City or something similar. And I think Joe's words sounds like a fair. I think his words are going to be "settle down, son."
For fuck's sakes, maybe.
For fuck's
Settle down.
sakes. That's on you. Hillbilly Wine, thanks for watching. Anyway, let's get into the after chat and tune in about 5-10 minutes.
Cheers.
Peace out.
Arrivederci.